All right, welcome everyone. It's Paul Hubib here with social media for Niagara Falls International Marathon. Today we're with our co-race director, Diane Chesla, and we're talking today about a series of articles Diane is doing for iRun magazine on the mind-body connection in running and how we can apply what we learn from running to our everyday lives. Just a short conversation here. And so Diane, your latest article released last week for iRun was really interesting as you talk about the real psychedelic experience you had while running. So why don't we start with you explaining what happened?
Sure. So I hope people found the article entertaining about my experience. So I had been studying peak performance through states of consciousness in my master's at York. And although I had attempted to apply principles to reach, let's just say, psychedelic states while running, this one happened unexpectedly one day. I had joined a friend in Collingwood. He went to do a course, and I thought I'd go running in the escarpment, love running hills. So went up on to the escarpment, got hopelessly lost. It was maybe a fall morning, and then realized, wow, I really don't know where I am. I just knew that the village was back down through the trees. So I actually was a little energized by the thought of being lost. And up until then, my run had just been average, a little bit boring, a little bit hard going up the escarpment. Anyways, I began to make my way back down through the trees, trying to figure out which way to go. And then I reached the country road and thought, oh, I'm pretty sure it's left, started running left. And then all of a sudden, my body went into complete autopilot. I became aware that while I was running, my body was essentially running on its own, going through the mechanics as if it was like this muscle memory. And I was so bemused by what was happening. I wanted to make sure that I was interpreting it correctly. So let's see if I can fit this in the screen. I stuck my hand out and I started waving my hand at myself. And I mean, there were no cars or anything there, but you can imagine how silly this looked. Here's this woman running down the road, and I was waving, and I could see my hand waving at me. I knew that my mind was controlling my hand, but I was not, I feel like we don't have words to describe it. I was not inside my body. It was such an amazing feeling. Like there was silence, time stood still, and I let my body go. It was beautiful. And I've never had that level of intense experience happen before while running. I mean, it ended. I made my way back to the village. That's it.
So do you know what was actually happening to your body and mind that led to this really unique experience?
Okay, so a lot of people have had these experiences, what I will call states of flow. There's actually a researcher who coined the term flow and has studied it extensively in terms of performance, mostly sports performance. His name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And flow is basically a state, and to put it in the simplest of terms, where our skill level meets our level of perceived challenge. So if we perceive that a challenge that we're embarking on is too difficult, we have anxiety. And if we perceive that it's too easy, we're bored. So, and just to qualify, it was a weekday morning when this happened to me. I had a full breakfast, so I wasn't hungry. I wasn't going far, so my electrolytes weren't out of whack, and I definitely wasn't high. So I do believe it was me entering a state of flow that explains what happened.
Interesting. I know your interest is in how we can take these experiences and apply them to everyday life. What do you think you've learned from this, and how have you applied it to your own life?
So that was probably just over 15 years ago. And peak performance from a sports perspective has been something that's interested me my entire life and
Mm,
is why I chose to study it in my master's. So, one huge thing right off the bat is I was conscious of states of flow and the possibility of entering states of flow, definitely through running.
mm,
And the other thing is to understand is that states of flow can happen on this huge spectrum.
right,
So it's a place where time stands still, where in sport things seem effortless. It can be the simplest of, oh wow, like I'm really in the game here,
right.
to far off on the other spectrum of what I experience of I'm completely outside my body,
Mhm,
this complete clarity. So it's more likely that we experience these short states of complete awareness. And we can take that to the workplace as an example. So I gave the example in the article. I'm also very creative.
mhm,
So at work, I have a chance to implement my creativity. And for our expo booth 1 year ago, I envisioned replicating the falls somehow. So getting in the state where I could just imagine this. I was enjoying the process, thinking of the materials, foam, how we would have to cut 3D out, modeling it,
right,
thinking of the challenge of how we can actually make water flow down, capture it at the bottom in a reservoir, put a pump up. So that's a very simple example of um, how I can apply the same principles of flow, set a challenge out for myself,
right.
and make it happen.
I remember that at the expo, and it was beautiful. And
Thank you.
I didn't even know how you had that water flowing until you actually showed me. It's very, very,
Yeah.
very creative. So
Thank you,
I
Paul.
appreciate you doing this NFIM Minute. And, your series is an incredible series, and I've read
Thank
both
you.
articles so far, and I look forward to the rest of the series. And for those that are watching too, you guys can check out the series at iRun.ca or on iRun magazine. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Paul.
Take care.